You're watching Truth Talk News.
So if you think if we walked away from this, didn't give them money today, it would be worse for us from a security standpoint?
I do. We're building a relationship that just did not exist. I said in our last trip when you were with me that we had a huge trust deficit, in part because the United States had, to be fair, we had helped to create the problem we're now fighting.
How?
Because when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, we had this brilliant idea that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan. And we were successful. The Soviets left Afghanistan, and then we said, great, goodbye, leaving these trained people who were fanatical in Afghanistan and Pakistan, leaving them well armed, creating a mess, frankly, that at the time we didn't really recognize. We were just so happy to see the Soviet Union fall. And we thought, okay, fine, we're okay now.
To bring in the new world order.
From 1945 and the end of the war through 1989 and the end of the Cold War, we had a worldview. Republican and Democratic presidents alike, from Harry Truman to George Bush, stood for freedom and stood for certain propositions that would make America strong and healthy and grow the middle class and shrink poverty and stand against communism. After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order, and instead it looks like we got a lot of disorder. And we still, and after 9/11, we've been more sensitive.
Now you look back, the people we're fighting today, we were supporting in the fight against the Soviets.
Al-Qaeda's created by Zbigniew Brzezinski and the CIA. Osama bin Laden was sold Stinger missiles by Ted Gunderson in 1979, same time, to fight off the Soviets at the time. So now this same Al-Qaeda have an affiliate in Africa, and they're threatening U.S. interests. So we've got to deal with this African situation. So we have 100 troops deployed for drone duty. Drone duty. In Niger. How nice is that? Moving along. Drones have killed 4,700 people, U.S. Senator says. That's right. They finally gave a number on this. Finally, Lindsey Graham, finally, the globalist shill, long-term criminal career politician. We've killed 4,700, the lawmaker said. Sometimes you hit innocent people, and I hate that, but we're at war. We're not at war, okay? See this? This is the mind control of the Psyop. We are not at war. There has never been a war declared. The war on terror is not a real war, ladies and gentlemen. It is a Psyop. It is a mind-controlling aspect to keep this perpetual state of war in place. We're in 1984. We're living through it. It's just the years are a little off, and we're not quite where it was. Like 1984 might be really 2054, okay, or 2084. The level of insanity that you're going to hear in the rest of this broadcast is just unbelievable. So drones have killed 4,700 people, and we're at war. War is peace. Remember, there's really no war. There is really no war. In fact, in truth, there's no war, because Congress hasn't declared war.
And tonight, we lead the world in facing down a threat to decency and humanity. What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law.
I'm just astounded. And then as we have these people that are waking up, West Point is citing dangers of the far right, quote unquote, people that are awake and constitutionalists and want freedom and liberty and, a constitutional government, get rid of the Federal Reserve. We people, the radical far right, are a threat. So they have a whole think tank at West Point who issued a warning paper that said the far-right groups such as the Anti-Federalist Movement, which supports civil activism, individual freedoms, and self-government. Can you believe this? The report issued the week by the Combating Terrorism Center at the United States Military Academy at West Point, New York, is titled Challenges from the Sidelines, Understanding America's Violent Far Right. I mean, we are just out of control here, ladies and gentlemen. They are just setting the stage for another big mind-controlled psyop, panicked situation, because there's going to be some very, very serious consequences coming down here. Let's not make light of this. This banking situation, this whole debt situation, the everything that I talk about here. The reason I do it is because we are going to be under a collapse, and when it happens, I'm not here to just say, "Oh, I told you so." I'm here to wake you up so that, first of all, you prepare for it, because I don't know if we can stop it. But I know that if we join together and we share all this information and research the information and find your own truth, because there is only one truth, and that is the truth. It's the only truth, that you yourself will understand what we need to do to stop these corporations from getting all the loopholes. Stop all of the deindustrialization of our country. Give manufacturing incentives to the people in our country. Stop all of the regulations. Stop the FDA. Get rid of this alphabet soup that costs us trillions of dollars. Come back to a constitutional republic that was meant to be a small central government, not a large, huge one that'll eventually become a socialist, communist, totalitarian dictatorship, where oligarchs reign because they have the money and the power to pull, and all the politicians are in their pockets, and so are the judges. And we're just about there. That's the truth. I mean, after all, why in God's earth would we be having drones that are going to be flying around? A push to step up the use of drones, okay? A push to step up the use of drones. What does that tell you? We're going to have drones flying around now, getting all of our information, just like in the movies 20 years ago? You thought it was a joke, right? What do I say about the movies? It's all together. It's going back to Mrs. Obama and the mind control and the great actor, Barack Obama, who should win the Academy Award, honestly, for the greatest actor, because he has manipulated the people to re-elect him with the worst record in history, because he's just cool and everybody digs him as he lies, cheats, and steals. Unbelievable. In fact, Florida police now want to use these drones. So it's coming to our communities. The Florida police are now looking to use these drones to help them, to have drones flying around. Do you want drones flying around in your neighborhood? Do you want drones flying around your house? Do you want to hear buzzing by your window at night? Because they can literally, with the technology they have, they can look through the walls, they can get everything that they want, they can X-ray images, infrared images, everything. They can record audio, they can record video, they can deploy weapons, they can deploy gas, they can deploy... I mean, look this stuff up, and you think this is a good thing? You don't understand what's going to happen. One day, it only takes all of these apparati and all of the intricacies of all of these horrific totalitarian elements to be in place for one crazy lunatic to pull the trigger.
As we all know, the biological and social stimulation of the family leads to private reflection outside party needs. It
doesn't mean that Obama's going to do it. That's not the problem. Okay? It doesn't mean that Obama is going to come around there and all these things are being put in place so Obama can do this. It's not about Obama. It's about some president or some tyrant or the evildoer, the ultimate evildoer, has the power and capacity to put all these powers into place. If you set up a tyranny, giving the ability for all of these things to happen, these drones and all of these terrible things, you are setting up the ability of some power-hungry bastard in the future to lose control. Are you willing to risk that? That's why the Founding Fathers, that's why the Constitution is the element of the key. We stick to that and we know it.
There are thought criminals who maintain that resistance is not real.
They'll take us over, put us into this one world order.
Believe me, Winston, it's very real.
And if that's not bad enough, Big Brother's coming even closer. Futurists have long proclaimed the coming of a cashless society, and in Rapid City, South Dakota, a college, the School of Mines and Technology campus are performing one of the world's first experiments in biocryptology, a mixture of biometrics using physical traits for identification and cryptology, the study of encoding private information. Students at the Rapid City School can buy abandoned potato chips with a machine that non-intrusively detects their hemoglobin to make sure the transaction is legitimate. You can't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. We are in a scientific technocracy. God help us all. Death to the New World Order. I'm Howard Nima. Thank you for watching Truth Talk News.
The lethality of their power is greater than ever. Their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. In earlier times, it was easier to control a million people. Literally, it was easier to control a million people than physically to kill a million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill a million people than to control a million people.
Better.
From 1945 and the end of the war through 1989 and the end of the Cold War, we had a worldview. Republican and Democratic presidents alike, from Harry Truman to George Bush, stood for freedom.
You're watching Truth Talk News.
So if you think if we walked away from this, didn't give them money today, it would be worse for us from a security standpoint.
I do. We're building a relationship that just people who were fanatical in Afghanistan and Pakistan, leaving them well armed, creating a mess, frankly, that at the time we didn't really recognize. We were just so happy to see the Soviet Union fall. And we thought, okay, fine, we're okay now. Everything's
bring in the new
so much
world.
that we were going to come to Pakistan and create a force of mujahideen, equip them with Stinger missiles and everything else to go after the Soviets inside Afghanistan. And we were successful. The Soviets left Afghanistan, and then we said, great, goodbye, leaving these trained did not exist. I said in our last trip when you were with me that we had a huge trust deficit, in part because the United States had, to be fair, we had helped to create the problem we're now fighting.
How?
Because when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, we had this brilliant idea that